Hi, welcome to the Brief Book Reviews channel, otherwise known as An Old Guy Reviews the book that he's read this week. So what's the old guy read this week? Well, the book I've read this week is this one. It's called The Wrong Hands by author Mark Billingham. Was published by Sphere as a hardback here in the UK on the 20th of June 2024. I guess most people recognise Mark Billingham for his D.I. Tom Thorne detective series, but this isn't one. This is the second outing for DS Declan Miller. Previous book was called The Last Dance. It's fair to say that DS Declan Miller is a slightly different type of detective. He's still grieving the death of his wife Alex. He's still talking to his ex-wife, his deceased wife Alex. He owns a couple of rats called Fred and Ginger, which he keeps in a playpen in his front room. And he is slightly quirky. He likes a bit of ballroom dancing, likes the Beatles. Nothing wrong with that, obviously. But yeah, so he's slightly different. His partner, Sara, her name her last name is spelled Xiu, and she says it's actually not Zhu, it's pronounced it's like juice. So he calls her Posh because, as everyone knows, juice is just a posh name for gravy. So there we have it. This is our central character. So what's happening in this story and why is it called The Wrong Hands? Well, the book revolves around the story of a couple of wrong uns. There's a guy called Wayne Cutler, who's the local wrong un in Blackpool where the story is based, and another guy called Frank Bardsley. Now, Frank is the owner of lots of fast food burger joints in Preston, and he's looking to move into the Blackpool area. Cutler and Frank come to this arrangement that, provided Frank doesn't step onto Cutler's territory, no problem. But unfortunately, Frank's right-hand man George does step into Cutler's territory and start selling low-end drugs from the burger joint that's established in Blackpool. Cutler hires a contract killer to dispense of the person responsible for this in order to send a message to Frank. And that murder is taking place. The person selling the drugs on behalf of Frank is murdered, and the contract killer needs to show evidence to Mr. Cutler that that's done. So that process is in the process of being conducted when a couple of local lads spot a briefcase and think, near the gents' toilets at Blackpool station, we can pinch this, and thus the tale unfolds. So that briefcase is stolen, and it turns out that in that briefcase is a pair of severed hands, because the contract killer has to show that to Cutler as proof in order to claim his £10,000 bounty, if you will. That suitcase falls into DS Miller's hands. So he now feels he's got a bit of leverage because he thinks that Cutler may be involved in the death of his wife Alex. So thus the tale unfolds. Miller and Posh are in pursuit of the contract killer. The contract killer is staying in sort of low-end seaside bed and breakfast places. Always uses the initials DD and likes to watch a bit of Midsummer Murders in the afternoon when he's not killing people. So the hunt for this killer ensues. Also, clearly, Declan is concerned about the case to try and find out who murdered his wife, and serious and organised crime who are leading this, who he calls serious and disorganised, don't seem to be getting anywhere. So we've got this whole tale of a couple of criminal kingpins, a contract killer on the loose, and Declan still trying to find out who murdered his wife. There's also the issue of potential police corruption, because they're getting a whiff of something's not quite right here with his wife's murder. So it's a fairly complicated tale. We also have a psychotic welder. We have the wives of the two kingpins who are both fed up with their husbands, and one of them's really fed up because he threw a Cadbury's cream egg at her. So you name it, we've got it here. It's a quirky tale. It's almost a tragicomedy because there's lots of humour in the book, but it's almost, dad joke humour. It's quite corny humour at times. But we have Declan trying to find out who killed who killed the, trying to track down the contract killer, as are everybody else, and also find out who killed his wife. So a complicated, somewhat quirky tale, funny in parts, and it's almost like a tragi-comedy, because there are some parts where Declan is truly missing his wife and you feel sorry for him. On the other hand, Declan also has a habit, apart from his other quirkiness, of going off at every tangent imaginable. So you can imagine if you met Declan in real life, you'd feel sorry for him a bit, but he'd also annoy you. So it's a tricky combination. It's an enjoyable read. I'd give it 6 out of 10. It's not the best murder mystery I've read this year. It's quintessentially English, and there is a certain amount of quirkiness, sort of eccentricity, English eccentricity involved in Declan, and also some of the other characters in the book. But it's a good enough read, and it's certainly a nice little summer read. It's only 401 pages, so that's about it. I guess, will we see Declan again? Don't know. In the acknowledgements, the author said that his next effort will be a D.I. Tom Thorne adventure. So we may or may not see Declan again. As I said, I think the jury's out on that. Well, maybe they'll see how well this book does. Because whilst you like to engage with the characters of the book, Declan can be a little bit annoying. But a minor point there. So that's it for this week's brief book review. 10/10. Do we do it again? Thanks for watching. Bye.